There is a moment, quiet, ordinary, when a bird lands on your window ledge and looks directly at you, and something inside you goes completely still. Maybe it happened once. Maybe it keeps happening every single morning at almost the same time. And you've been telling yourself it is just a bird, just coincidence, just one of those things. But what if it isn't? Welcome back to The Birds Know. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. And I mean that literally, because today we're going to talk about something that millions of people experience and almost no one can explain. A bird, a specific bird, returning to your window not once, not twice, but every morning like an appointment, like something that needs you to understand. We're going to look at what science says about this behavior, and we're going to look at what is something deeper, something older than science, that says about it too. By the time you reach the end of this video, you will never look at that bird the same way again. And I'll tell you right now, the last sign we cover today is the one that tends to leave people speechless. So please, stay with me all the way through. There are 7 reasons a bird keeps returning to your window every morning. 7 things it could be trying to tell you, and some of them will surprise you in ways you're not expecting. Let's begin. Sign number 1. Your window is a mirror, and the bird is fighting itself. This is where science starts, and it is important to understand this first, because it is the foundation everything else builds on. When a bird approaches your window repeatedly, one of the most well-documented explanations is something called territorial reflection behavior. What is happening is this: the bird sees its own reflection in the glass and interprets it as another bird, an intruder in its territory, and so it comes back again and again to confront this enemy that never leaves. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology has documented this extensively. It happens most often in spring and early summer during breeding season, when territorial instincts are at their absolute peak. The birds most likely to do this are cardinals, robins, bluebirds, and sparrows, all birds with strong territorial drives and the kind of bright, distinctive coloring that makes their reflection look like a genuine rival. You'll know this is what is happening if the bird pecks at the glass, flutters against it, or tilts its head and stares in a very specific, aggressive way. Not a gentle visit, a confrontation. Now here is why. This matters for everything that comes after. Not every bird that comes to your window is doing this. And the difference between a bird that is fighting its reflection and a bird that is genuinely, quietly watching you. That difference is something you can learn to see. And once you see that, you will understand that some of what has been happening at your window is something else entirely. But stay with me, because sign number 2 is where things start to shift. Sign number 2, your yard has become a landmark, and you are part of the map. Birds have extraordinary spatial memory. We've known this for decades, but recent research has taken our understanding somewhere remarkable. Studies on chickadees and nuthatches, 2 of the most common backyard birds in America, show that these birds can remember thousands of food cache locations across hundreds of acres with extraordinary accuracy. Even months later, what this means for you is this: if a bird keeps returning to your window every morning, it is entirely possible. In fact, it is likely that you have become a fixed point in that bird's mental landscape. Not just your feeder, not just your yard. You, your presence, your routine, your silhouette at the window. Birds don't just map places. Research from the University of Cambridge and other institutions has shown that certain species, particularly corvids like crows and jays, but also some songbirds, track individual humans. They recognize faces. They distinguish between people who have fed them and people who have not. If you've been sitting at that window with your morning coffee, if you've ever scattered seed just outside the glass, if you've ever simply been there in a way that felt consistent, that bird may have learned you. And when a bird knows you, it comes back to check on you. Think about that for a moment. Sign number 3. The bird at your window carries a name that has meant something for a very long time. Let's talk about the cardinal. In American culture, particularly among people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, the red cardinal holds a place unlike any other bird. You know what I'm talking about. You've probably felt it. That catching in your breath when a male cardinal lands close, impossibly red against the gray morning. There is a belief, widespread, deeply held, and rooted in traditions that go back centuries, that cardinals are messengers from those we have lost. This isn't fringe. This isn't unusual. Walk into any Christian bookstore or any gift shop in the South or the Midwest, and you will find cards, ornaments, and keepsakes, all bearing the same words. When a cardinal appears, a loved one is near. This belief has roots in multiple traditions. In some Native American cultures, the cardinal is associated with relationships and loyalty, a messenger between the living and the spirit world. In folk Christianity, the cardinal's red color has long been connected to the blood of Christ and the presence of divine comfort in moments of grief. But here is what I want you to notice. Here is what separates this channel from a simple spiritual video. The behavior of the cardinal at your window is specific. It isn't random. Cardinals don't typically approach human dwellings without reason. They are, in the wild, somewhat cautious birds. And this tends to happen in the weeks and months following a loss. I'm not going to tell you what that means. I'm going to let you hold that. And I'm going to keep going, because sign number 4 is one that most people have never heard. And it changes the way you understand what has been happening. Sign number 4. The bird is responding to something it can hear inside your home. This one surprises people, but the science is solid. Birds have hearing that works very differently from ours. Certain species can detect low-frequency vibrations, sounds below the threshold of human hearing. Others are exquisitely sensitive to specific sound patterns, a television at low volume, a radio, the rhythm of a human voice. Research has shown that some birds, particularly mockingbirds and starlings, both common in American backyards, will approach and investigate unfamiliar sounds with intense curiosity. But it goes further than that. Studies on European robins, closely related in behavior to the American robin, have found that these birds respond to recorded human voices in ways that suggest active interest, not just curiosity. They approach. They stay. They tilt their heads in the characteristic way that signals focused listening. There is also this. If you talk to yourself in the morning, if you pray out loud, if you play music, if you sing, you may have an audience you didn't know about. Birds that return to a window morning after morning are often responding to something consistent inside that home. A sound, a rhythm, a presence that has become familiar. You have been heard. And here is what that connects to. Because sign number 5 is where the science and the spiritual start to overlap in a way that is difficult to dismiss. Sign number 5. The timing of the visits is not random. Pay attention to this one. Really, pay attention. One of the most common things people report when they describe a bird that keeps returning to their window is this. It arrives at almost exactly the same time every morning. Not approximately, precisely, before the coffee is ready. Just as the light changes, right around the time you used to have a phone call with someone you've lost. Science has a partial explanation. Birds operate on internal biological clocks, circadian rhythms of extraordinary precision. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology has documented that many songbirds begin their morning activity within minutes of the same light level every single day. Their internal clocks are more accurate than most of ours. So, the timing is not random. It is regulated by something ancient and precise inside the bird itself. But here is what science cannot fully explain. Why your window, out of all the windows on your street, out of all the ledges and branches and telephone wires in your neighborhood, why does it come to yours at that specific time? When people are asked this question, and I've read hundreds of accounts from people across the country, the most common answer is the same. That was his time. That was when she used to call. That was when we had our coffee together. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm telling you what people report consistently across thousands of miles and decades of experience. And I want you to stay with me, because sign number 6 is the one that tends to make people go very quiet. Sign number 6. The bird has made eye contact with you and held it. This is different from a bird looking toward you. This is a bird that looks at you, that holds your gaze. That doesn't startle when you move closer to the glass. There is genuine science here, and it is remarkable. Birds track where humans are looking. They respond to being watched, and in some cases, they initiate eye contact and maintain it. The Cambridge Comparative Cognition Lab has shown that crows, in particular, have a theory of mind. They understand that other beings have perspectives, intentions, attention. They know when you're watching them, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. But this behavior, this held gaze, this stillness, has been reported with cardinals, with mourning doves, with bluebirds, and with robins. Birds that are not supposed to behave this way. Birds that have no documented cognitive basis for the depth of connection people describe. And yet people describe it clearly, specifically, emotionally. A bird that looks at you through a window and does not look away is doing something intentional. Something that the simple brain of a common backyard bird is not supposed to be capable of. Unless it isn't a simple brain after all. Unless something else is happening. Stay with me, because sign number 7, the last one, is the one I've been building toward, and it is the one that people most often say they needed to hear. Sign number 7. The visits began after someone left, and you know exactly who. This is the one that stops people mid-sentence. Not because it is impossible to explain, but because for so many people, when they think about it honestly, the bird appeared after the funeral, after the hospital, after the phone call that changed everything. I want to be careful here. I want to be honest here. Science does not have a mechanism for this. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology cannot tell you why a red cardinal began appearing at the window of a woman in Tennessee 3 days after her husband of 47 years died. The Audubon Society has no study that explains why a mourning dove took up residence on the porch of a family in Ohio in the weeks following their mother's passing and disappeared the morning of the memorial service. These things are not in any scientific paper, but they are in the testimonies of ordinary people, spoken quietly, sometimes with tears, sometimes with a certainty that is more settled than almost any other certainty in their lives. The boundary between this world and the next is thinner than we think, and sometimes something that loves you finds a way to say, I'm still here. I see you. You're not alone. I don't know if that is true. I believe in asking honest questions, but I also believe in the weight of human experience, and the weight of it across cultures, across centuries, across the backyards of America is considerable. If a bird has been coming to your window every morning and you've lost someone, and somewhere in the back of your mind you've thought, just for a second, could it be? You are not being foolish. You are not imagining it. You are a person who loves someone who is gone, and you are paying attention to the world around you with your whole heart. And that is exactly what they would have wanted. So here is where I want to leave you today. 7 signs. Territorial reflection, which tells you the bird sees arrival. Spatial memory, which tells you you've become part of the bird's world. The ancient, specific weight of the cardinal. The sounds inside your home that travel through glass. The timing that is too precise to dismiss. The eye contact that science struggles to explain. And the visits that began when someone left. Some of these are science. Some of these are mystery. Most of them, I think, are both. Before you go, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer in the comments, because your answer matters. Has a bird ever come to your window at a moment that felt like more than coincidence? Was there a time, a specific time, when it felt like someone was trying to reach you? Tell me. Tell us. Because the most important thing I've learned from making this channel is this: you are not alone in this experience. Not by a long way. Write it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video reached you at the right moment, if it said something you needed to hear, please share it with someone who might need it too. That is how these things find the people they're meant for. I'll see you in the next one. Keep watching your window.